What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to JellyGoonTv. Welcome back to all my beautiful viewers and subscribers, of course. Welcome back to the gorgeous JellyGoon squad. Today we have another video. We're going to react to Walking the Battle of the Somme. Now, this is a World War I battle happened between 1916 and something. I don't know. I'm so sorry, but this is really a tribute to these guys because it was one of the most horrible battlefields in the world and ever happened. So it was just horrible. Like, there was a lot of people dying. There was a lot of bombs, everything like that. People just got traumatized by this war right here. So we're gonna react to this channel right here, Living History. So without further ado, please go over to his channel, support this video, and we're just gonna watch what's going on. We're gonna watch the history of this battle. So without further ado, let's get into it. I think this guy's really into all the history and everything, and I love this guy, man. I think he does a good job. Wow.
The names of some battlefields are forever tarnished by the sheer scale of the suffering and the tragedy that occurred there. But it would be difficult to find a battlefield that can compete for either suffering or tragedy than this one. This is the Somme, and the fighting...
You can even see the remains of the bunkers, or not the bunkers, but the trenches. That is just freaking horrible, man, I swear. Horrible stuff.
What occurred here between July and November 1916 was some of the bloodiest of the First World War. In this program, we're going to take you to sites associated with this iconic battle and tell the stories of the men who fought and died here.
These are trenches they made, I guess. Unbelievable. Imagine.
My journey begins on a foggy morning near the town of Beaumont-Hamel in northern France. Here to show me around is battlefield guide John Anderson.
Hello, John.
Hi, Matt. Good to see you again.
Great to see you. This is pretty impressive. Hawthorne Ridge crater.
It certainly is. It's one of a number of craters that were blown by the tunnelling companies of the Royal Engineers that marked the start of the Battle of the Somme.
So this is on the first day, the 1st of July.
This was on the 1st of July. This was the first of the mines to be exploded. It was fired at 7:20 on the morning of the 1st of July. And famously, this is the only one that was filmed by Geoffrey Marland.
What were they trying to do? Why did they find it necessary to basically obliterate this whole section of German trench?
The whole point of the craters, and there were a number of them blown, were to take out major German defensive positions that it was felt would be very difficult for us to capture. But this is on high ground. This has got a great line of fire all across the countryside that we can see in the areas where the British soldiers were due to attack at 7:30.
Well, we're certainly on high ground. You can see that we've got views. If the fog wasn't here, we'd have views around the whole battlefield. Which direction were the British coming from in their attack?
Okay, they were coming from the west and attacking in an eastward direction.
So from this way they were
coming. So they were coming from across here.
Really?
And attacking up onto this lip here. And in fact, the first British soldiers to push forward, shortly after this mine was fired, actually got onto the lip of the crater there.
Well, let's go and have a look, have a closer look at the crater. How did we end up with this huge crater in this position?
Both the British and the Germans had organised themselves tunnelling companies. Certainly on the British side, these were specialist miners who were brought in as part of the Royal Engineers tunnelling companies, specifically to dig tunnels underneath no man's land to create these craters, to charge them with explosives.
Really?
So these were men who'd worked in coal mines back in the UK and were brought over specifically to continue that work here on the Western Front.
Yeah, men who worked in coal mines from all over the UK.
Wow.
Men who worked on extensions of the London Underground system.
Imagine this, man. You're just walking through your neighborhood. You're building everything under the tunnels, the trains, everything like that. All of a sudden, somebody calls you and you have to go to the front lines, building tunnels, support your country, you know, explosive down below, explode so many people, do all this stuff, and they voluntarily did it for their country, for the fight, for everything that they believed in. Wow, it's amazing how your life really can change when you are in some kind of job, you know what I mean? Like, it's really amazing to see these people actually took the honor to go to the battlefield, even though that they could die and that their families would lose them, but they still did it and produced a lot of things that is now destroyed, I guess, but memories in a lost war that made no sense whatsoever.
Guys who were working, restoring and repairing the Victorian sewers underneath Manchester.
What happened here when that mine went up?
The Hawthorne Ridge redoubt, parts of it collapsed, and men were trapped within the redoubt. As you can see from the scale of the crater here, many men would of course have been killed. But the Germans had defence in depth. This was a frontline position, but many of the Germans would have been in a trench just slightly behind this line. So the Germans came up from the second line, got onto this lip of the crater before the British soldiers, who had much further distance to move forward, could capture the lip on the other side, which meant that as the guys were coming forward, they came under a rain of machine gun fire and small arms fire before they even got to the lip. They managed to hold that side of the crater until about 12 noon on the day of the 1st of July, when a German counterattack forced them back to their starting position.
John, let's go down and have a closer look at the crater from the bottom.
Okay.
The first thing
that is really like sabotage material things, you know what I mean? Just blowing up a mine. There's a lot of people who died. A lot of German people died because of that attack, because of brave British soldiers who just basically did whatever they could to dug down and just do whatever they had to do, right? It is something, of course.
that strikes me,
But,
John,
yeah.
is it's not a big round hole. I mean, it's elongated. It's really an oval shape, isn't it? Why the odd shape of this crater?
That's because this is not one crater, but two joined together, if you like. The first crater was blown on the 1st of July, 20 past 7 in the morning. But this ground wasn't captured or held at that time. So another attack came through here. That was on the 13th of November 1916, when a second crater was blown. The tunnels reopened the tunnels. They came back through here, set another mine charge, and blew it again.
So this was the first crater on this side.
Correct.
And then, so it's really a figure eight. There's a second crater here on our left,
It is indeed.
which was the one from November 1916.
It actually feels quite eerie to be right here
Yeah, it must be.
on the 14th of November. 102 years and 1 day since this part of the crater was blown.
They would have been experiencing the same thing we are, probably, the fog and the cold.
The fog and the cold and the mist, yeah.
You do feel it, don't you? You feel that connection. I'm feeling it now.
There's
We're
certainly a
walking with
chill.
ghosts here. It's incredible.
It must be horrible. It must be horrible to be the soldiers, man.
Just a
It
few
must be
hundred
really
metres from
horrible.
Hawthorne Crater is another place that gives you an insight into the events of 1916.
Okay.
It's one of the few places where trenches from the Battle of the Somme have been preserved.
Really?
This is the Newfoundland Memorial Park, so called because of the Newfoundland Regiment that attacked here on the 1st of July 1916, and they had a terrible time in the grounds where we are.
I could imagine that, man.
A British unit had attacked before them and had suffered very badly, and so then the Newfoundland Regiment was sent into the front line and ordered to carry out an attack of their own. By this time the Germans were ready, they were waiting, they knew an attack was coming. And the poor old Newfies found that the trenches were so bogged with dead and wounded that they couldn't even make it to their own front line. So their commanders ordered them out of the trenches and said, let's go across the open ground. And they were terribly exposed to German machine gun fire. And as they moved across the trenches, a lot of them were hit even before they reached their own front line. It was just an absolute tragedy. And they've preserved these trenches now. And here we are, standing in the British trench, heading towards the front line. And it's absolutely extraordinary. It's not until you get down amongst these trenches, until you get in here and can see how cramped it is, how exposed you are as soon as you step into open ground, that you get an understanding for what the Somme fighting was.
I mean, just walking through these trenches, what you're gonna see is you're gonna see gunfire, you're gonna see bombs, you're gonna see your fellow soldiers laying right next to you, dead, gone, there's nothing left. Like, that must really take out your soul, and to keep on fighting, you have to understand that must be a very motivated decision to do, because you see a lot of dead people around you. You see your friends, you see the people that you drink coffee with that morning, dead on the ground, cold, laid out, nothing left of them. That is just horrible, man. And that's why I don't support war whatsoever. I don't talk about it, but I just wanted to go back to history because I love to get a certain of energy from these guys, from the trenches, from the World War II, from everything like that. I even visit some places in Denmark with war, right? I like to get that energy, how they felt, and just being in the open, and, you know, just the enemies attacking, the fear, the anxiousness, everything like that. And it's just, these soldiers went beyond what anybody would have done. Like, it's amazing, and they are truly heroes, and that's the both sides. I understand that people, they have a hard time for the German people, but there was good German soldiers who just fought for their countries like the British. They didn't care about politics, they didn't care about anything. They were brainwashed into say that we are attacked, we need to take this or we need to take that. That's what a soldier is, man. A soldier is a programmed human being that is willing to die for an ideology that is set in that particular land that you have, or that metaphor you have of you love your country or you're gonna fight for your country. Your country is nothing but dirt. Like, seriously, your country is dirt, so you're fighting for dirt. But it's the nationality, it's the symbolic things that is in your country, the infrastructure, the people, your family, everything like that that you are fighting for. And it gives both sides. Both sides are doing the same exact thing. You can, of course, argue whatever you want, but I'm just saying there's pure fucking frightness in the soldiers' ears, eyes, everything like that. Many people developed PTSD, and it was just a horrible time in history, man. It was one of the wars where people, they should just say, you know what? Maybe I want to take over the world and kill some people, but I'm not going to do it because I saw World War I. But as we know from history that people are not like that. There's been much more horrible things happening in history than World War I. 100%. We have the Khans who raped and burned people, who took out nearly half of the fucking world just because he could, right? So there are some horrible people who just needs to be shot instantly. Like, they need to be shot instantly when they come with their ideologies that some certain group needs to die. They needs to be silenced immediately. I know you have democracy and you have all this stupid stuff, but we just watched through history what happens when people, they get freely minded and they get some power. They get these racist, discriminated, you know, thoughts that they're gonna take over some things and hide a lot of things. There's a lot of lies in war. There's a lot of civilian kills, rapes, kids killed, everything like that. And that is just the core base of war. War is ugly. No matter how you put it, or no matter what symbolic thing you are fighting for, if you are, I'm fighting for my freedom, but you are still killing people, you are taking other people's freedom away from, you know, experience in life. That's basically what you do. So you're fighting from freedom, but you also taking other people's freedom away from each other. It makes no literally sense for me, and I don't understand why these fucking limp dick presidents and all these people are going to war, killing innocent people, killing families, killing all this, and turning around the world for the not better. It's just egoistic freakheads that doesn't know anything. But yeah, let's go.
It's really all about. So just imagine the situation for the poor old newfies on the 1st of July 1916. They're coming up through these trenches, they're stepping over the bodies of their dead and wounded comrades, and then, you know, they would have been aghast when all of a sudden their commanders said, climb out of these trenches, boys, walk across the open ground, we've got to get to the front line in time for the attack. Just a generally really horrific situation all around. And so the poor old newfies climbed out of their trenches, advanced across this open ground.
Tragic.
They were cut down pretty swiftly. And at the end of the day, after the attack was over, of the 800 or so who'd gone into battle, more than 700 had been killed or wounded.
What?
So this really saw the end of the Newfoundland Regiment as a fighting force in the First World War. Wow. And today it's been preserved much as it was on the 1st of July 1916. The wonderful thing about this park is it gives us a really good impression of how trench systems worked during the First World War. When we say trenches, we tend to just think of one continuous line of trench, but it actually wasn't like that at all. There were rows and rows of trenches. There was the front line trench, support trenches, reserve trenches, and we get a really good example here. That was a support trench I was just in. And as we come further forward, this is a communication trench leading forward towards the front line. So imagine the poor Newfoundlanders at this point on the 1st of July 1916. They've had to fight their way past the dead and wounded comrades in the support trenches. Then their officers have ordered them up out of the trenches into this area, this exposed ground. So men would have been falling all around me as they headed forward in July 1916. And then as we get further forward, eventually, after losing so many men, they arrived at their own front line, which is just here. And then the real challenge began. They'd lost half their number, they were in the front line trench, and they still had to cross this huge expanse of no man's land towards the German trenches, which are on the far ridge behind us. So just a horrific situation for the Newfoundlanders, and none of them got very far into no man's land at all before they were all shot down.
That's crazy.
This battered stump is called the danger tree, and it marks the furthest point reached by any of the Newfoundlanders in the attack on the 1st of July 1916. And the thing that's flabbergasting about this is we've come probably 100 metres from their frontline trench. So the ordeal of that morning, they were exposed to fire from before they even reached their front line. They got to the front line, they had to keep coming forward, and they only got this far. And when you look out on the expanse of no man's land, it's probably half a kilometre over to the German trenches. No man's land was incredibly wide at this point. The Newfoundlanders had a huge amount of distance to cover, and they'd lost most of their numbers by the time they even reached this tree here.
Wow.
So we've crossed no man's land now. That's the British front line over on the horizon behind us. And we're now approaching the German trenches. So this is where that horrendous volume of fire came from. The Germans, once the artillery barrage subsided, they came scrambling up from their underground.
But again, this guy's very one-sided because the Germans, they lost people too. The Germans got slaughtered too. Like, that's what I really hate about these history things, but I hope he gets into that because he's not finished yet. But the Germans also got slaughtered. They did have family at home. They did the same thing as the British people they did. And that's what I hate about people when they picking sides. They don't understand. They just pick the politic sides of what is right and what is wrong. But these people are human beings. Not everybody believe in the ideology that their country is spitting out, but because of not getting shot, they have to be in the war. That's what people, they don't understand. And when I'm saying this, I'm looking at it from both sides. Like, some people just don't want to be there, but they have to do it because if they did not join the war, they were traitors, okay? And when you're a traitor, your family is getting spit on, you're probably getting shot, everything is happening. You don't want that for your family. And that's why I get so pissed when people, they say like, oh, you support the Germans. No, I don't. I just support the individual German person who was not like that and who didn't hate anybody. He just fought because his country said so. Like most of fucking Americans, they do. They don't even ask questions. They just go out there and shoot and kill. That's all they do. It's just bothering to me how people are so freaking stupid and one-sided when it happens to war. Like the Ukraine and Russian war. Everybody is so one-sided to everything. Look, they are killing civilians, motherfucker. Like, people are dying. Stop, man. Just go through each other, go through a boxing fight or something like that and say who's gonna take over what. It's just pure stupidity. Like, there's young people who's fighting military, can barely put on a fucking socks, and they shooting a gun. Like, it's unbelievable with this dumb shit. And that's why I hate those people who's sitting in power and, you know, saying to people that they have to go kill certain people. Do it yourself. Pick up your fucking gun and go out and shoot people. Instead of being a little pussy sitting behind your screen like you are the freaking boss of the people or you're the picture of the people. Like, shut the fuck up and go out and shoot. Show yourself, right? It's just unbelievable, this shit. And I'm not going to go into that war because I don't support either sides. I just don't care. It's not my war. I pray for the civilians. And a lot of them I seen in Denmark. And they are welcome with open arms. They can have everything I have. They can have my milk. They can have everything. I don't care. I love Ukrainian people. I love Russian people still. I'm not choosing sides. Because that's what they want you to do. That's why. I'm with the people who don't want war. That's just simple. But let's get into this.
Dugouts. They manned these deep trenches and they poured fire into the poor Brits advancing across the ground behind us. So this is the German frontline position. These are the German trenches where this hail of fire came from into both the British and the Newfoundland troops. And when you look at them, the first thing you can see is how much deeper they are than the British positions. They're deep, they're strong. These were very permanent positions that the Germans had dug And the reason they'd done that is the Germans weren't going anywhere. They'd captured this ground, they'd captured large chunks of France and Belgium. And they said basically to the Allies, if you want us to leave, you push us out. They were going to stay here for as long as it possibly took. And so they dug very deep defences. They dug in for a long time. They reinforced their trenches with concrete and with timber. And these were very, very strong positions, almost impervious to Allied shell fire. The British, on the other hand, and the Allies, their position was, we are not going to let the Germans advance another inch. Every step we take now is going to be pushing the Germans back. So the British trenches, in comparison, quite shallow, not permanent at all. These German positions, very deep, very strong. It was going to be impossible for the British to break in. Just behind the German trenches is this really magnificent memorial to the 51st Highland Division. It was a Scottish unit that attacked here in November 1916. And we should remember that about the Battle of the Somme, that it's not just about the 1st of July. Obviously, the 1st of July was a really
But it's only about the
moment.
British
It was
side.
a monumental moment in the Battle of the Somme.
Look,
But
I
the
know
Somme
the
battle went on
aggressors
for
is
4
the
months,
aggressors, but
and
still.
on the 13th of November, another attack took place.
We are treating history as we don't care about the other side and about the people. That's what I hate about war. Like, especially these history channels, even though this guy is amazing. He's doing an amazing job. I love this guy so much, man. No fucking hate towards him. He's doing a beautiful video right here. I really do love him so much. But we have this intent in that we are rooting for the people that we are with, and we are only telling one side of the story, because one of the side of the story is the perfect one, is the best one. The one side of the story is the one that we want to tell. We are the dictators of how history went, right? We are the dictators of how people is gonna, pursue this history act that we are going through, and who is the heroes and who is the bad guys, right? But it just pisses me off when you talk about one side that they are heroic, but the other side is the aggressors and they're trying to do something. Maybe understand it from the other side and understand why did they take over, because they wanted to expand trade like the Vikings did. We don't hear shit from the Vikings anymore. We were horrible people in Denmark right now. We were horrible people. Like, we probably the history's worst people in whole entire fucking world. Like, we were fucking horrible, but we don't got the consequences of that. We don't got that because the world wasn't established back then, right? So this is what I'm trying to say is, people, they trying to glorify Vikings too, but Vikings are not glorified. They killed, they raped, they killed children, they slaughtered, they did everything. And that's not the reason why I love Vikings. My ancestors was the reason England got invaded. We started this shit. We were the most aggressors. We were the most badass Vikings you ever seen in the world. People still talk nice thing about us, but a Viking is not something you want to wake up in the morning to. But this is what I'm trying to tell you. We can glorify violence with good things and bad things. We were good traders. We didn't care about race. We didn't care if you were black or white. We just wanted to get money. We wanted to get wealth. Odin was with us. Thor was with us, everything. Midgard, everything. We just wanted to go to Valhalla. We were warriors, right? These guys were warriors too, and I respect every single person who died on this battlefield. It's horrible and nobody should go through that. My point is, don't choose a side until you hurt both. You know what I mean? Of course I am with the British. Germany is not supposed to go outside of their borders and just take over countries. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they're human being soldiers who died on this planet, who died in these trenches, who didn't want to be there, but they had no choice. Because if you go against your country, you are a traitor. See what happened under the Christmas truce, right? What did the soldiers get told? Because they were outside of their brainwashing. We can't have these soldiers eating together. What did it look like? But the soldiers is the worst part. They found out, wait, this guy I'm shooting at every single fucking day, it's just like me. He got a family, he got kids, he liked chocolate, he liked to play football. You know what I mean? Like, it's just normal human beings. But people, they like to justify why they're killing people. They like to justify why this person has to die because he's a bad person. Maybe he's just a normal person who's just trying to survive, right? But people, they're too ignorant and too stupid to understand that. It is baffling how stupid and how narrative people they are driven. Like, it's unbelievable. But let's get into it. I'm sorry about my rant, but I hate this.
Successful. They attacked from closer to the German trenches in no man's land. They came across here, they captured the positions, and they did what their comrades couldn't do on the 1st of July, and that was force the Germans out of these positions and gain this ground.
That's good, I guess.
This memorial is really a great example of how the fighting evolved on the Somme. Between the 1st of July and the 13th of November, the attacks were revolutionised. The 51st Highland Division that fought here had a much easier task than their unfortunate comrades who'd fought here in July. They had better artillery, better preparation, they were supported by tanks. This was an attack that worked in as many ways as the 1st of July one didn't. I love this memorial because it's not just a great monument to fighting men, but the sculptor took his time to get it right. Often when you see these memorials on the Western Front, they're a loose representation of the soldiers who fought here, but this one is very accurate. The sculptor has taken his time. Everything from the uniform, the weapons the soldiers are carrying, the kit that he's carrying.
They deserve that. Really they deserve more than that.
Of the men who fought here.
They deserve more than that.
100 years
All right, man, so we're gonna spin it right here, but it's very beautiful and it's very amazing to see these trenches and just get the feeling of what they've been through. Like, this trench that you see in this video was all with dirt. It was nasty. There was fire outside. There was water on the top. There was foggy. There was death in the air. It stinks like rotten people. People were laying on the front. You should use your body as a fucking shield just to not to die. It was a horrible war, and I never hope we get to see that again. Again, it's a beautiful video, and I want to say to this guy, you were doing a really good job telling the story. It's very one-sided, but it's really beautiful to see, and I do enjoy this guy so much. So please go over, support this living history right here. He's an amazing guy, and he's really telling a story that is very beautiful, and he knows his stuff because, you know, with the monument and everything like that. I really do pay homage to this guy right here. I love this guy so much. I wish him everything in the world the best. I really do, man. He's an amazing guy. I just really am baffled how many trenches there were. And many people, they think like you use one line as a trench and that's it. No, they had like systems and everything, like he told in the video. They had systems, they have support groups, they have communications, they have probably spy commanders, everything like that. And they have tunnels everywhere, like a little small city, like with tunnel networks, right? It's amazing, man. I really do love it so much. I'd love to go back in history and just see how it was from both sides of the trenches. From both sides of history, I like to see, because it's always the winners who get to read or write down the history or write down the facts, right? The facts. And that is a problem to me because sometimes people, they manipulate information. We've seen that in time. We've seen that in history, and it's just unfortunate sometimes. But you know what? I want to say rest in peace to all these brave soldiers from 1914 to 1916. And I want to say from everybody in the bottom of my heart, from World War I, World War II, every single war that got fought, Japanese from Germans to everything like that. If you're a normal human being and you're just trying to do, and you try not to get killed, you're trying to survive, that your country would turn their back on you if you do not fight their wars. It's not a country you're supposed to love. And that is 100% sure. If a country needs you to fight and they abandon you if you don't want to fight, that's not a country you love. That's not a country you are gonna love. I would move immediately. Hit the like button down below. Also, please do subscribe. Hit the notification button if you really want to support the channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. It would be massively appreciated if you wanted to support, of course. And thank you so much for being here. Please comment down below, what do you think about this war? What is some of the stories that I did not hear in this? Please let me know what is going on. Please, there's so many people on this channel who has something about war and they know something about war. Please let me tell. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, rest in peace to all the soldiers who fought in the front lines, all the soldiers who ever fought and never died. Love you guys and respect to you motherfuckers, because y'all badass. Anyway, JellyGoon signing out. Love you guys who's watching this video. And sorry about my rant. I love you. Peace.